Hey, ahoy hoy! Again, hopefully the sound is all working here. Let me know if it is all good in the chat, and that'll get my heart rate down. Good. Hello, it's Trevor here. Again, it is March 9th. It is over 2 months that I've been doing this weekly live stream. I think I missed 1 week. Not a bad stretch. Let me share my slides, and then we will get on into this. So my slides should be right there. Okay. And somebody said it appears good. Does it sound good? That's the real issue. Sounds good. Okay. I'm getting a thumbs up from the fiance. All right. Hello. This is again Canada's countdown to Artemis II. Again, we're still here. My name's Trevor. A lot of you are probably repeaters here, but if you're not, I'll quickly do this. If you've seen this before, get yourself a nice Sprite or something like that. My name's Trevor. What is this series? We're going back to the moon, and it could happen within the next few weeks. I've been saying that for a couple of months now, but hopefully now this will actually happen. The mission, as you've probably heard, is called Artemis II, Roman numerals, Artemis II. And I've been doing this weekly live stream for every week since January 5th. So over 2 months now. I'm going to do it every week until Artemis II launches. So each show, 2 topics, 15 minutes for each topic, and then a Q&A. So if you have a question about anything, it can even be not about Artemis II, because maybe I've answered everything that you're curious about. At the end, I'll give you 15 minutes to ask you questions. And it's mostly going to be centered around Canada. America, they got their own stuff going on. So we're just going to focus on Canada. Me, again, I'm Trevor. And I run Plateau Astro here in Montreal. I do school presentations. In fact, I just got an email from a teacher from one of the young students who watches, and they said that the students recommended me. So I'm really happy to hear about that. So I'll present virtually at that school. We'll figure out when. I also have a mobile planetarium. So if you're in Montreal or Quebec City or around Ottawa, I can bring this gigantic igloo-looking thing to your gym or school big area, and inside I project the night sky and the stars, and we do a tour of the planets. It's a lot of fun. That's one of the funnest parts of my job, but I used to work at the space agency. They are not related to this at all. This is just me, my own gig here. But I used to work with this guy who is going to the moon, Jeremy Hansen. So let's get into it. What are the 2 topics for tonight? And I realize I have the wrong slide here. It says Artemis 3 and Artemis 4 changes. This is last week's slide. I think the rest are okay. What we're going to talk about this time, ignore this slide. We're going to talk about how you fly around in space. How do you actually move around? How do the astronauts actually do it? And then the second thing is we're going to talk about how far away are they actually going? Like, where is it in relation to the space station, to some big space telescopes? Are they like close to Mars? How far away are different things in space? Ignore this slide, but that's what we're going to talk about. Last week, did a contest, and somebody won this Artemis II mission patch. Very nice. And the winner was Nicole. I didn't do it live on air just because I want people to give people a bit of time afterwards to enter in the contest. But Nicole won. I've shipped it out to her. This week, different patch. It is this patch. It is Jeremy Hansen, the Canadian astronaut. He's going around the moon, and it is his own personal mission patch. It is right here. Here it is in front of the SLS rocket a few months ago now. And here it is in front of me right here. So the winner is going to get this. How do you get into the contest? I have a form right here, but here's the URL, plateauastro.com/contest. If you have another phone or something like that, go there. And then a little later on in the show, after I do the 2 topics, I'm going to give you a secret code. Fill that out just with your name and email address. And then I will ship it out your way if you win. Last week, we had 23 people enter in. So you got a pretty good chance. So hopefully you win it this time. Okay. An update since last week. Last week, we talked about they had a helium issue, and they've been fixing it. They've been fixing it in the VAB, the Vehicle Assembly Building. It is still in the Vehicle Assembly Building, and they haven't announced a day when they're going to roll it out to the launch pad. But it is March 9th, and here are the next available launch dates. These haven't changed. April 1st, No joke. This is April 1st is the earliest that they can go. And then April 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th. And then if they miss that, end of the month of April 30th, basically May. So really that's like 3 weeks away, perhaps exactly 3 weeks away. And so they're going to have to bring it out to the launch pad pretty soon here. And so hopefully that'll happen in the next week or so. And then the astronauts are going to have to go into quarantine at some point. So I'm keeping my eye out for that. So next week maybe I'll have more news on that. So here it is in calendar form like that. So April 1st, that's still set. Again, that's Easter weekend. And if they go on April 1st, it'll be a kind of just before sunset. So it could be a really cool launch perspective. Okay, now let's get into the real topics. So the first one tonight is, how do they fly Orion? How do they actually fly the spacecraft that they're going to travel to the moon to? I've seen Star Wars a lot as a kid, all right? And you see them sort of flying around like planes and stuff like that. They don't fly like this, okay? They're not avoiding green lasers. They're not swooping around like that. This, of course, is meant to be entertaining and exciting. It's very fun to watch, but this is not how we actually fly around in space, okay? You might think, okay, do they fly around like they do in planes and like have a big old cockpit in there? It's a little bit closer how they fly in a plane, but still it's not actually how they fly around in space. And flying in space is actually kind of weird. And there's a really great video that NASA put out about a year or so ago where it's talking to the two, I guess on the left there, his name is Reed Wiseman. He's the commander, but the person on the right there, Victor Glover, he's actually the pilot. So he's actually going to be the guy who's going to actually fly and maneuver around the spacecraft. So just a reminder, here is the spacecraft. There's a capsule right there on the back. There's a sort of a cylindrical looking, maybe half toilet paper tube looking thing. Why did I say that? Because I used to make spacecraft out of toilet paper tubes when I was a kid. And then you have the solar arrays in the back there. And those solar arrays, those aren't wings. They don't help with steering it around or anything. It's not like a plane. Those are solar panels. Those are for power. How they get most of the speed up in space is they don't have engines like a plane does right here. Most of the speed, they're going to be traveling very fast in space. Most of that speed comes from when they go up in the rocket. Okay, the rocket blasts off and they get up into Earth orbit and make a lot of speed. Okay, they get a little bit of speed on the back of the spacecraft. This is sort of the backside of the spacecraft. You see sort of an engine, we call it a bell, because it's shaped like a bell, engine bell there, okay? That also gives some speed and some maneuverability, okay? And you can see some other little engine bells on the side there. Those also can like steer the spacecraft. And if you remember from last week, they are going to slightly change the mission a little bit. What they're going to have to do, and they say they're going to do this next year, we'll see, they're going to dock the Orion spacecraft with SpaceX's big lunar lander around the Earth. So they have to learn to dock them together. Okay, this is a big thing that they're going to have to learn how to do, and then do it around Earth orbit before they go to the moon. And they're also going to do it if and when we have a space station around the moon. This is called Lunar Gateway. We'll see if it actually happens. They have to dock with it. This is a very important thing that they have to do. So on Artemis II, hopefully in the next few weeks, they're going to launch up into space. They're going to do a circle around the Earth. And then they're going to hit their thrusters again. And they're going to do this really long elliptical orbit. Okay, this will all happen within the first day. And during that elliptical orbit, they're going to be about 60,000 kilometers away from the Earth. And then they're going to kind of maneuver back. But during that big loop, they're going to do this really cool maneuver. And I have a little video here, which should show, yeah. So the spacecraft has a little rocket behind it, and they're going to separate from that, and they're going to test out how to maneuver around the spacecraft. Get close to it, turn around it, go up above it, and stuff like that. And this is so that in the future, and I'll just mention, you see those little things, those little white stuff coming out? These are thrusters, okay? There's this little gas, and it steers the spacecraft around, all right? That's how they move it around. And I think I have some photos here in a second here, okay? So they have a bunch of little thrusters on the spacecraft, all right? So here is the spacecraft. And you see these things on the side, not on the back, but on the side here, okay? They kind of look like little engine bells too. They control inside and they spits out little gas and it changes things for them. Here's a photo from Artemis I, and you can see a little photo of them right there and right there. And here it is sort of close up what it looks like. And there's about 24 of these thrusters on the spacecraft. And this lets them maneuver around different things. So it lets them dock, okay? Now, what does it look like when these two guys, probably Victor on the right there, when they're going to be maneuvering around? What does it look like? Does it look like a plane? How a plane has what we call, I think, a yoke or a joystick like that? No, that's not what it looks like inside of the spacecraft. They have, and in the video that they made, they have this these two things. One is called THC, Translational Hand Controller, right? And the other one is called the RHC, Rotational Hand Controller. These are fancy words, okay? But I'm gonna break it down pretty easily for you. So how do you move around in space? Okay, this is kind of a bit of a crash course. I try to simplify this as much as I can. This is all kind of very complicated stuff, but I think I've got it pretty good here. We're going to start with this, the translational hand controller. It's a little controller, and here's the spacecraft. And basically, you can move in 6 different ways using this little hand controller. You can go up, you can go down, okay, up and down. You can go to the left, and you can go to the right. And the other thing you can do is you can go forwards and you can go backwards, okay? And that's the translational hand control. And I'll just show it maybe here with, I got a little thing here. So you can go left, right, up, down, and then forwards, and then backwards. So that's one sort of motion you have to do in space. This is not just for Orion, but for basically all space maneuvering. The other thing you have to do is you have to rotate around. Okay, so here's the spacecraft again from sort of a different point of view. And this is just a little video that I took, so it looks a little bit different. You can move to the left, rotate to the right. You can also rotate up and down like this. And then you can also completely rotate like this and rotate like that. So those are a few different ways you can rotate, okay? It seems a little bit complicated. Why are you telling all this? But I have a cool example / game that I'm going to show here in a second. So all that rotating stuff is done with this different controller thing. They literally have hand controllers up there. The best way I think to show this is using this sort of free game. And I say game, but really, to let kids play this for as long as they want, let's call it a simulator, because that's probably a better word for it, okay? And this is a thing that SpaceX actually made about 6 years ago to do some promo for when Bob and Doug, if I say that, Bob and Doug, they were the first 2 astronauts to go up into space using SpaceX's Dragon capsule, and they made this really cool simulator. And so I'm going to show you, and it'll sort of illustrate how you move around in space. So this is the website right here. Don't pull it up right now because I want you to watch, all right? So I'm just going to stop this, iss-sim.spacex.com. So I'm just going to stop sharing my screen here, and I'm going to start sharing a different tab here. Yeah, so that should show, yep, right there, and I will put my face right there. Okay. So what this does is it has a few instructions here, and I'm not going to go through all this here, but basically it's saying these little numbers are telling us how close we are to being head-on with docking with the space station. Okay, and this is the point of the game. You're going to dock with the space station, all right? And there's rotation controls, like I just showed you. Okay, you can roll left, you can roll right, you can pitch up and down and to the left and right. And position controls, or that translation stuff. You can go backwards and forwards, or left and right and up and down, okay? And I'm not going to go through the rest of the tutorial here, but you'll get the idea. So let's begin. All right. And so we're at the space station. We're above Earth, okay, but we haven't docked to it yet. All right. Now, the first time I played this, I had no idea how to like move around in space. So I'll show you the wrong way to do this, and then I'll show you sort of a brief version of how to actually do this the correct way. So on the left-hand side, and this is going to be similar to what they do on Orion, okay? Not exactly, but it'll teach you how to do it. So there's the space station, and you want to be able to dock, to center this thing right there with that green square-looking thing right there. Okay. So the first thing I'm going to do, and this is what I did the first time I used it, I'm going to go forwards. Let's get closer towards it, all right? Again, this is the wrong way to do it. We're going to go forwards, and then I'm going to, start moving up like this. And then I know I got to go to the left a little bit, so I'll do that. Okay, and I'm going pretty fast here. And when you're actually going to dock with the space station or any other spacecraft in space, you got to go really slow. But let's be cavalier here. Let's be a real maverick in space here. Okay, so we're going forwards, forwards, forwards. Okay, let's go faster. Okay, I know I'm going a little bit too high, so I'll go down a little bit here, and maybe I should rotate a little bit. And okay, I'll go this way. Oh, I'm a little bit too high. Okay, I'll go down. Oh, I better go to the left again a little bit here. All right. Okay, let's speed up. Why not? People are waiting. All right. I'm doing this the wrong way, obviously, and I'm off kilter here, but let's see if I can save it. Let's see. You can see the docking port right there. I feel like I'm really quite twisted right here. I better start slowing down if I don't want to hit the spacecraft, the space station. Okay. This is not going good. And if I try to overcompensate, it's too much, and you start to panic. You can kind of get a little bit into there, but I'm going way too fast, and I'm going to get this message that says kablamo, okay? And it says fail. You made contact with the space station. You crashed right into it. Okay, successful docking is achieved when numbers are below a 0.2. Okay. The proper way to do this, and I'm not going to go through the entire thing now because it takes a few minutes to do, and I don't want to bore you. I encourage you, try this out afterwards. It's actually really fun. This came out like 6 years ago, and I still really like it. The game starts with you sort of pointed down like this. All right, so you're not directly headed towards the space station, but you see these numbers up here. It says roll 15 degrees. Basically, I am rolled 15 degrees off. It says pitch here, -20. I'm -20 degrees off. And yaw, meaning left and right like that, I'm -10 degrees. Basically, I got to get each of those to 0. And the best way to do that is to do it one at a time. Just control one thing at a time. Okay, so I'm going to show you this, and I won't go dock with it, but I'll give you an example here. So let's start with the roll. Okay, I'm 15 degrees off. I'm going to slowly hit this, and you can see that number is going down. Okay, and this is how they would actually probably try to dock things in space. I think they obviously simplified it here because this is a game for over-caffeinated adults. Okay, but this is the general idea of how things try to dock in space. So I'm getting it close to zero. It's at 3, 2, 1. I'm going to slow down, and once it gets to 0, I'm going to stop right there. Okay. Roll. It's good. What about the pitch? I'm going to use this thing right here. And you can see this number. It was at -20. And now I'm pitching the correct way. All right. Little fun fact while I do this. So the first crew on SpaceX to use this system were Bob and Doug. But then the second crew was Victor Glover, the guy who's going to actually control the Orion spacecraft. I believe he was the pilot for that too. So he did this exact same sort of motion. Okay. So -2 and 0. Okay, that's good. Close enough. And then let's get that yaw correct. And yaw, you're basically just rotating your head like this. Let's get that down to 0. And you just want to get all of these to 0 like that. And then those 3 directions of movement, they're all solved. You don't have to do the rotational hand controller, I don't want to say at all, but as much anymore. And then the rest, it says X, Y, and Z here. I would move down like this. Okay, you can see this number. We're approaching, want to get that down to 0. You want the Y to get to 0, and then the X, meaning going towards the space station. You want that to get to 0. So it's easiest if you just do them one at a time. Now, I think you get the idea. I would get that down to 0 and then get the next one to 0. And then you would dock and slowly get to the space station. So I'm going to put that link into the chat at the end of the show there. But that is a really fun demonstration of how to dock and fly in space. And that's specific to SpaceX's Dragon capsule, but same sort of concepts for Orion. Speaking of which, let's get my slides up and right there. So there's the URL for it. Okay, don't go to it now. Go at the end. But yeah, it's a really fun, interesting, fun way to do it. And parents, you're allowed to show your kids that, and kids, you're allowed to play it. Okay, my head should be right there. Okay, so that's how to fly Orion, and there's my clicker. That's how you fly Orion. So, second topic. That's the first topic. How far are they going? Well, they're going to the moon. You know that, okay? But how far away is the spacecraft, the Orion spacecraft and the 4 crew members, how far away are they going compared to the space station, the ISS? Okay, this is where astronauts live and work for months at a time. What about the Hubble Space Telescope? You've probably heard about the Hubble, seen photos of it. Where is that? Okay. What about this? GPS satellites. Okay, so GPS is just, I would say a bunch of satellites, only about 30 satellites. They're up in space, okay? How far are they going relative to some GPS satellites? This one, near and dear to our household, the James Webb Space Telescope. My fiance, Natalie, she's the outreach scientist for the James Webb Space Telescope. So there's James Webb space stuff all over our house. Okay, where is this relative to where the astronauts are going? Are they going further from it? Are they going closer to it? Okay, how is it? Again, here's the images from James Webb that we've had over the last couple of years. Okay, where is it compared to where the astronauts are going? And then finally, let's go nuts here. How far is it compared to Mars? Okay, let's find out. I'm going to use an app here. This is free. It's a little bit complicated, but it's called Gaia Sky. So I'm just going to get that running just in the background there. Just take some moment to sort of get set up. And I'm just starting it there. Okay. And just give me one moment here. So they're going to the moon. All right. And the moon is about 400,000 kilometers away. And so let's kind of illustrate that compared to some other things. And let me get my remote control all ready to go. There we go. And let me hide one thing. GPS. Okay. Now I should be ready to share here. So let's stop that and share my other screen. Gaia Sky. Okay. This is software I use in my planetarium domes, and last time I tried it was a little bit buggy, so hopefully this time it's good. All right, so here is the Earth, okay, and we can turn on different lines right here. Okay, we can see these are orbital lines, so this is where spacecraft and such are. Okay, let's start with where is the International Space Station? Okay, so I'm just gonna search for that. ISS, right? And the ISS is not too far away from Earth, okay? It's about 400, maybe 450 kilometers away from the Earth. So here it is, right here. It's sort of in darkness right now, but I'm gonna speed up time a little bit so that we can get into the light side of Earth. Okay, we're going a little bit quick here, okay? But I'll just sort of illustrate once it gets into daytime here. All right, so here it is. And this is where astronauts live for months or about a year at a time. Okay, so it's about 400 or so kilometers high, not too far away. Okay. So where is the Hubble Space Telescope? Now, Hubble we launched back in, I believe, 1990, 1991, and we had to do some repairs to it. Okay. Hubble is actually also very close to the Earth. I guess right now it's on the opposite side of the Earth. Okay. It's a little bit higher than the International Space Station. It's about 500 or so kilometers high. So here that is, getting closer, and it goes around the Earth about once every 90 minutes or so. Okay, and it takes photos out in space. Okay. The next part I think is really cool because this was interesting to me when I first learned about it. GPS satellites. How do we get our location on our phones? I was going to bring up my phone, but my phone is the camera right now. Okay. This is a cool visual, and I asked the developer of this if he could put this together. There's only about 30 satellites needed for the GPS system. Okay, so I'm going to zoom out a little bit here just to show you this, and I'm just going to pause time. Okay, and I'm going to show you all of the GPS satellites. 3, 2, 1. Okay, now it might not look like much right now, but I'm going to turn on all the orbits for it, and here it is. Okay, the GPS satellites are about 20,000 kilometers away from the Earth. Okay, so these are relatively high satellites. And so here's all of them. And it also almost makes kind of like if you've ever seen like an atom, sort of the design of an atom, kind of looks a little bit like that. And I'll actually just turn off the Milky Way there. Okay, you can see all of these are the constellations that make the constellations. These are all the satellites that make up the GPS satellite constellation. All right, so the ISS is quite close. Hubble is quite close. GPS satellites are relatively quite a bit further. Okay. The Artemis II mission, I showed a little bit earlier. They're going to launch into space. They're going to go around the Earth once, and they're going to be pretty low around the Earth, maybe about a couple, about the height of the space station, about 400 kilometers or so. Then they're going to hit their boosters, and they're going to do this really long elliptical orbit around the Earth. That's going to take about a day. And if I zoom out far enough here, we should be able to see that orbit right here. Okay, it is this one line sort of coming out right here. All right, so you can see all of the GPS satellites. I'll just turn them off, but you see this one sort of circle right here. This is where the Artemis II astronauts, they're going to start here, go around the Earth once, and then hit their boosters and then go far away from the Earth like this, and that'll take a day. And this is where they're going to do that maneuver, testing out the spacecraft, and then come back to the Earth and then head out to the moon. That's going to be about 60,000 kilometers away from the Earth. So they're going to be flying outside of the orbit of all of those GPS satellites for a couple hours, probably about 12 or 15, 16 hours or so, and then coming roaring back to the Earth and then out towards the moon. So they're going to go further than the GPS satellites, and then they're going to go to the moon, and the moon is right here. All right, so the moon is about 400,000 kilometers away or so. Okay, so they're going to be very, very far away from all of those spacecraft. All right. Now, they're further than the International Space Station, Hubble, GPS. What about the James Webb Space Telescope, the telescope that's giving a lot of really cool images lately? Where is this spacecraft? This spacecraft is actually further out beyond the moon. It's about 4 times further than the moon is. So it is all the way over here. So I'll just zoom out and give you some perspective here. There is the moon, right about there. This is where the James Webb Space Telescope is. And the Earth is right, right there. Sorry, I had my scale wrong there. Okay, so here's the Earth. Here is the moon, right about there. And this is where JWST actually is. All right, so let's get a little close-up look at JWST. All right, it's going to be a little bit dark out there, so I'm going to turn on the ambient light. You've probably seen photos of this because I just showed you one, but it's all the way out over here. So the astronauts, the Artemis II astronauts, they're going to be closer to the Earth than the JWST telescope is, James Webb Space Telescope is. So JWST is quite far away relatively. Okay? Now, where is Mars? Mars is really far away, okay? I believe it's about 50 million kilometers away, but let's just sort of zoom out here and get a little bit of a visual here. I'm going to keep on zooming out. So there's the Earth just in the background right there. And I will keep on zooming out. There's the Earth, there's the moon. And right now, Mars should be almost on the other side of the sun, okay? So if Earth is right here, the sun is right here, Mars is behind the sun. So the Mars is up in the sky during the daytime, but we can't see it at nighttime because it'll be below the horizon. So Mars is very, very, very far away relative to where we're going. So hopefully that sort of illustrates where they are going. So I'll just go to the Artemis spacecraft here. All right. And here they are around the moon, about 400,000 kilometers away. And this, again, is the furthest that humans have ever gone before. I think that record right now is Apollo 13, but the Artemis II astronauts might break that record as they go around the moon, hopefully in the next few weeks here. Okay, hopefully that illustrates that. And let me go back to my browser here, and let's stop that and make my head big. All right, and I'm just going to close that app because it's a pretty heavy app. So there we go. All right, I'll bring up my slides again. So that app is called Gaia Sky, and my head is right here. All right, now here's the actual distances. Hopefully that was a good visual, but here's the raw values for it right here. Artemis II is going to be about 400,000 kilometers away from Earth. And it might be a little bit more than that, but that's roughly what it'll be. The ISS, where astronauts live and work, is only about 400 kilometers away. So they're literally going 1,000 times further than where we send astronauts to space right now. Hubble, again, said about 500 kilometers high, not too high. GPS, about 20,000 kilometers high. JWST, about 1.5 million kilometers away. It's about 4 times the distance between the Earth and the moon. It's pretty far out there. And Mars. Mars is sometimes closer to the Earth and sometimes further away, just the way that they orbit around each other. So here it is at closest. It's about 50 million kilometers away. And furthest, it's like 400 million kilometers away. So I think it's about 1,000 times further at its furthest than where astronauts are going the next few weeks here. So hopefully that gives you some good context of how far things are and where we're going. So hopefully that's good. All right, I'm a few minutes behind, so let's flip through this. All right, time has arrived. You can win Jeremy Hansen's patch. The way I phrase this makes it sound like it's like his, like I took it off him or something like that. Obviously, they've mass-produced, well, they've made probably a few thousand of these, okay? Here it is. Really cool, made by First Nations artist Henry Guimond, all right? I took it with me at the rollout of the SLS rocket, okay? So let's do the draw for this, or let's do the contest for it, okay? So here, again, you can go to plateauastro.com/contest, plateauastro.com/contest, and you're going to see 3 forms, or 3 fields. Your name, your email address, and the secret code, which I'm going to give in a second, okay? There's not even a box to force me to sign you up for my newsletter or anything like that, okay? If I was a smarter person, I would have that on there, but I'm not even going to trick you, all right? So here's what it'll look like, and here is the secret code for today. It's 3 letters, and it is FLY. FLY, okay? So plateauastro.com/contest. I will put this in the chat. plateauastro.com/contest. All right. I'll even put it in right here. All right. And the secret code is FLY. Hopefully you got that. Okay. Now, I can show you some photos of where this patch has been. Okay. Not this specific one. Okay. But here is Jeremy Hansen, Canadian astronaut. And you can see it. It's right on his sort of left side there. Okay. So this is a photo I took, and you can see it right there. Okay. So hopefully you folks are going in. And I'm seeing some people saying, thank you so much for giving us a chance to win this. Just do it. Okay. And I'm going to close it at 9:30. So you got less than an hour. If you're waiting for the show to end and you want to do it because you don't want to close a tab or something like that, that's fine. Okay. I'm going to just go through my support stuff, and I'll take that text off there. Okay. If you want to support my work, if you want to support me at one time, you can just buy me a coffee. buymeacoffee.com/plateauastro. Clearly you can tell I'm over caffeinated probably most of the day here, but your money does go to good use. If you want to help on a monthly basis, I have a Patreon, patreon.com/plateau_astro. But probably the biggest thing is if you're around the Montreal area or Ottawa or Quebec City, tell your teachers, tell your principal, tell your school boards to bring me in to bring my planetarium. plateauastro.com/planetarium. And if you're watching this on YouTube, hit that subscribe button. And if you're on social media, you might be here as where I am located too. And aforementioned newsletter that I'm not trying to trick you by having that form, plateauastro.com/newsletter. And then last page, I think, plateauastro.com/Artemis. I've just got a bunch of resources for teachers and parents and stuff like that if you're looking for more Artemis II activities and stuff. And a video I made describing all this that is 8 or 9 minutes instead of me blabbering on for 35 minutes about this stuff. Last thing you can do to help me, tell people about the mission. We got lucky. We've got like a 2-month extension. It's like your teacher saying you have to write a 5-page essay, and they give you 2 months extra time to write it. Whew, feels good when you're in junior high and high school. Well, this is what happened with the mission. So tell people about it. And then the final thing. I'm actually doing a show, a planetarium show about this. So I'm doing this on Saturday, March 28th in Montreal, White Wall Studio in the Plateau, plateauastro.com/workshops if you want to come to that. See me in person. See me babble in person inside of my giant planetarium. Okay, that's it. That's the promo. We have a few minutes for Q&A. So if you go into the chat, you can ask some questions. I saw a few questions rolling in there. The first one I wanted to do, though, was a question from last week. I forget the name, but I know they're 7 years old. And they asked this question about docking in space, which is kind of pertinent to what I showed you a little bit tonight. And I didn't have a visual of the docking adapter. They asked, how do you dock things in space? And I had like my 3 fingers going like this in a weird way. I'm going to show you, I have some visuals now, okay? This is this is obviously on Earth, but this shows what it's like. They call this the International Docking Adapter. And it's got these 3 sort of prongs, okay? One is sort of easy to see, one, second one right there. The third one is right there, but you can kind of see these almost look like clover leaf things, okay? So that's the sort of the receiving end. And then here is the delivering end, okay? This is the SpaceX spacecraft, and it's a little bit hard to see here too, but it has these 3 little pedals right there, okay? And these things, they meet up in space, kind of like the simulator I just showed you. And here's a little animation of what happens when they lock together in space, okay? So they go and they meet like this, and you can see the pedals kind of clip into each other. And that's the design, okay? And the design for this is, we call it the International Docking Adapter. So different countries, they might have different ways of thinking about how things should dock, but we should have one standard, and they all kind of operate the same, so different spacecraft can all dock with each other. So let's go back to my Q&A slide. I saw a few questions here. I've got about 5 or so minutes. This is a good question. How did the astronauts get selected for Artemis II? That's a good question. Yeah. So obviously there's 4 astronauts, and three are American and one is Canadian. So back in late 2020, NASA and the Canadian Space Agency, they signed an agreement that said, okay, we're going to send a Canadian astronaut to either around the moon or land on the moon, in this case, around the moon. So at least one had to be there. Okay, so we have, and I'll just bring my, I'll stop sharing my screen for a second and bring my head up. We have four active astronauts in Canada. David St. Jacques, Jeremy Hansen, Joshua Kutrick, and Jenny Gibbons. I always panic that I'm always going to forget one and then get banned for life from the space agency stuff. And so David St. Jacques, he already went to space. Okay, so he lived on the space station for about 6 months. So really we had about three. David St. Jacques and Jeremy Hansen were both selected at the same time in 2009. So David St. Jacques had to wait 10 years or so before he went up into space. Jeremy, he's still waiting. And it's been 17 years. It'll be about 17 years. And so it's kind of like okay, it's his time. But also when the other astronauts, Joshua and Jenny, were selected, that was in 2017. So they were still kind of maybe a little bit new to astronaut. I think they'd completed their astronaut training. I think it's about two years for them to do that. Not to say that they couldn't have been selected. They obviously could have, and Jenny is the backup. But Jeremy, he was also a trainer for astronauts. So he had quite a while of being in the NASA sort of sphere, orbit is probably a better word for that. The other three astronauts, the Americans, Victor Glover, he went into space. Reed Wiseman, he's been into space. And Christina Cook, she's been in space at least once, perhaps twice, something like that. How did they get selected? That's a good question. The Artemis program said they wanted to send the first person of color and first woman around the moon and to land on the moon. Now that's not a qualification of their skill set. These are all very trained people. Okay, but that was one of the ideals that when they started the Artemis program, they wanted to do that to show the diversity of humanity. Victor Glover, he's going to pilot this thing. He's ready. Like he's probably a perfect person to do this. He's piloted spacecraft before, and so yeah, each of them have their own traits. They have their backups and stuff like that. So other people, they are also trained for it. And I'm rambling at this point, but that's a really great question. Maybe I can answer that more in detail next time. I mean to do one about each of the specific astronauts. Oh, thanks for answering. I sent the question about docking. I'm Jack. Hello, Jack. Yes, got you. I got you. I saw another question up here. Let me see. Elliptical orbit. Great presentation. Question. Why is elliptical orbit better than circle orbit for Artemis II? Same applies to Gateway orbiting the moon. Yeah, okay. So circular orbits versus elliptical orbits. So most things in space don't actually go around in perfectly circular orbits. Probably all things, actually. Most orbits are actually a little bit elliptical. Some are very elliptical, and some are not so elliptical. So I'm trying to think of a good example here. So the International Space Station is on average about 450 kilometers high, but as it goes around the Earth one time, I have a Earth right here. Would my camera move? Okay. Okay. Let's not do that. Okay. As it goes around the Earth, it's about 420 kilometers high, and then 460 kilometers high, making up these numbers. The International Space Station actually doesn't go around in a perfectly circular orbit. Probably the part that you might be referencing is the part during the mission on Artemis II. They go around the Earth, do an orbit, pretty circular, but the part where they go and do a very elliptical orbit. The reason that they're doing it that way is they want to test out probably the engines on the back of the command module and the service module. I don't have the service module right here. They want to be able to boost into orbit like that, and they want to spend some time a little bit further from the Earth. And it's because they want to do that proximity demo thing, so that where they want to, they have this part here, and they want to separate from that and then kind of go around it and maneuver and make sure that all the thrusters and stuff work. It might be a bit better to do it there instead of closer to the Earth. But the other thing they want to do is they want to go away from the Earth. And as you're doing the elliptical orbit, as you come back down, you're actually gaining quite a bit of speed. Okay? And so as they're gaining speed as they go around the far side of the Earth, then they can hit their thrusters and then get out to the moon. But that extra speed that they have as they're coming back towards the Earth, that means they'll use less fuel on their way out to the moon. I think. I'm not an orbital mechanics guru or anything like that. But that's a good question. There's other reasons why people or certain spacecraft would be in an elliptical orbit. I can't think of any right now, and I don't want to butcher the explanation, but some spacecraft do some very crazy types of orbits. JWST actually is a really good one, and I don't have time to go into that one, but you saw how far away it was. It's there for a reason. Okay, I'll say Lagrange point 2, or if you just Google L2 James Webb, that'll help you out. Okay, I think I can take one more question. I'm a little bit going a little bit over here. Am I getting a chance to go back to Florida for the launch? No, there's so much uncertainty of when it's actually going to launch. Was it going to be February? Was it going to be March? And I just decided I'm lucky to have been selected to go and see the rollout. I'm pretty happy with that. I'd love to see another moon launch sometime, but right now it's just they're not going often enough that you can depend that it's going to go in a certain month. So I'm not going to the moon launch. Final question. What school programs prepare someone to be an astronaut? Yeah. So I'm not sure what age range you're thinking here. I'll say junior high and high school. Math and physics are probably the ones that are front of mind. Okay. Other ones that maybe might also be good is actually a phys ed. Keeping in good physical health is actually very good, and building up that I'm metaphorical muscle, getting into the habit of like training very often is very good. You don't have to be in like peak like you don't have to be perfect Donovan Bailey. Nobody knows who Donovan Bailey is to this. Okay. Person who won the 1996 Atlanta Olympic Games. Yeah, let's go 30 years behind. Astronauts need to work out every day in space if they're on the space station. So having a routine of just like that's just part of your lifestyle, that's actually pretty good. So it's not just math and stuff like that. Chemistry actually might be pretty good too. Biology, doctors, David St. Jacques, aforementioned David St. Jacques, he was a doctor. Okay, so those are very good. There's a lot of characteristics that you need to be to have an astronaut. The one that has stood out to me recently, I think I won't say the entire story, but David St. Jacques relayed this one. A trait that is very good for an astronaut to have is when somebody asks you to do something, you do it. Or rather, when you say you're going to do something, you're actually going to do it. You have to be very dependable. Okay, so if you say yes, I'm gonna fix this thing or perform this task, somebody and other crew members can depend on you. They're actually going to do it. I can think for myself. Sometimes I don't do that. Certain friends that I have, I'm not calling anybody out here, they don't do that. And I'm like, I probably would not want to be in a very tight capsule with them for 10 days, much less 6 months. So astronauts, they need to be very dependable people. And that's probably a good one to have. That's not a school course, but hopefully that helps here. Okay. I'll do one last one, then I'll head out. I know I'm a little bit off time here. Question. How do you position yourself when moving in outer space? Yeah, so this is actually just a good wrap up for what I talked about tonight. The Orion spacecraft, I have just had the capsule here, but they have the service module in the complete version, actually, kind of like this. Okay, on this part, they have thrusters right there. So little things that put out little jets or little bits of gas. And they've have, I think, 24 here and one big one on the back and 8 little ones on the other underside there. And using all that, the astronaut can say, I want to go up, down, left, right, forward, back, or I can rotate in all sorts of different ways. That is basically how we get around if we're trying to dock with something in space, trying to meet something in space like that. If you want to, like, say, meet up with another planet or something like that, little thrusters like that, they're not going to work. That's when you do have to use big thrusters, lots of fuel, so you can leave one planet's gravity, like Earth, and then time it just right that you'll be able to arrive where the planet or the moon is at just the right time. And that is where you use big thrusters for that. Okay, I'll just put my, hopefully that answered your question. And I'll just put my last stuff up here and show my head. There we go. Again, thank you, Jack, for this question. Next week, I'm actually can't do it on Monday because I'm doing a planetarium show in Sherbrooke on Monday. So I'm going to do it on Tuesday, 8 p.m. on YouTube, and I'll make another Facebook event, and I'll post that into the Facebook event that was just live. Plateau Astro, thank you guys so much for coming in, and hopefully that one was good. So thanks so much for watching, and I will announce the winner on the Facebook page and on social media. Forgot to do that this week, but I will certainly do that. So thank you all. Hopefully that was good. Hope it was fun. See you not next Monday, but on Tuesday. Have a good night.